Good morning, everybody. Good Friday morning. This is Robert People of RobertPeople.com, and you're listening to People's Court. Thank you for tuning in. Today is, again, Friday, January 10th, 2020. Please forgive the wind right now. I'm outside. It's a beautiful day. Nice sunny day. Good temperature, but it's a little windy, so please forgive that. I like to do these outside, so I get a chance to enjoy some of this nature. But I'm going to get into something real quick that some of you are not going to enjoy, okay? And that is SurvivingRKelly, okay? I'm not going to waste time with all this other stuff. I'm going to get right to it, okay? By now, most of you have heard of or have watched SurvivingRKelly. SurvivingRKelly is the documentary. We're on this year is part 2. Last year they did obviously the first part, and this chronicles all the women he has sexually assaulted in some way. Sexually assaulted, kidnapped, goodness knows, you name it, everything else. I'm here to talk about who is truly at fault. Who is truly at fault. My wife and I we watched last year, and we're watching this year as well. And I'm here to talk to you about who's at fault. Number one, let me tell you, in case you don't know, I am a black man. I'm a 40-year-old black man who grew up in Baltimore City. And I will let you know why that's relevant a little bit later on. Again, please forgive me for this wind. Hopefully it's still easy enough to hear me, but 40-year-old black man from Baltimore City. After watching what I have so far, where do I begin? Honestly, where do I start? At fault? Who is truly at fault? Let me start from the beginning. Let me do it that way. It's sickening, to say the least. That's how I'm struggling to get this out. It's sickening to have seen and to have heard, and then the responses that are coming with it as well. All of it is sickening, disgusting, and just, in some cases, unreal. But I'm going to tell you who's at fault from the beginning. Number one, first and foremost, is R. Kelly. He is at fault. I don't care how much you love him. I don't care what you think of this, what you think of that, what your opinion of the girls is, all this other garbage. He is at fault. Period. He is at fault. Before you come on and say something like, well, you know what? He was molested as a child and he needs help. There's no doubting and denying that part. But number one, a lot of people fall in that category of having been molested as children, and they don't go out here and do some of the things that I truly believe he did. And again, I don't care if you have a problem with it or what, because those of you who would have a problem with it, I'm going to address that one a little bit later as well. Even if he does need help, but even with that being said, R. Kelly, I don't know if he still is, but was a rich man. Very rich man. He had resources to be able to pay the people he has to do what they've done for him throughout his career. He had access to the best resources available. So there is no excuse why he could not get that help he needed. I'm not about to put him in the same category as someone who is poor from the hood who needs that kind of help and say, oh, we should let this go because he needed help. Guess what? He could have gotten it. Was in the best shape, the best condition to get that help. He had the money. I'm certain he could have found anybody to get him exactly where he needed. to be in order to get this help. Now, at one point it was mentioned that by his brother that R. Kelly did speak to a pastor. Didn't say what that led to, but apparently it didn't do enough because we're still in this mess now. He's still dealing with this. These women are still coming out, and they're still being they're struggling to tell these stories, but they're being brave enough to do so. And I believe them. I believe them. There's too much evidence in your face, in our faces, to say that he did this, that he did these things. Too much. We're not talking about one person who keeps changing her story. All these women, different stories, some of them corroborate with the others, not as though they've spoken to each other, but some of it makes perfect sense. A lot of it does. But we're not going to feel, I feel sorry for anybody who needs help. I can have empathy for that. I have been there myself. But you don't get to hurt people all because of needing help. Because it's your responsibility to step up and say, you know what? Let me step back before I hurt someone. And have been there. And anybody I've hurt because of the pain I've gone through, I have remorse for that. I'm not going to put that on my childhood or anything else. Anything that has gone on. I'm not doing that. Because if we do that, so many people have had ugly childhoods. And if we let folks off the hook all because of their childhood, nobody would ever be held accountable for anything. No one would. He is at fault. He made the decision to do these things. He is wrong. He deserves to be brought to justice. That's it. And looking at his, where we see it primarily on his Instagram page, it's sickening watching how brainwashed some people, way too damn many people are. The evidence is here. People are still questioning it. And I especially love the question of why didn't they come forward? Why didn't they come forward sooner? Look at how you're treating them now. R. Kelly's not at the top of his game anymore. Before all this came up, he wasn't at the top. He was still doing his thing. He was still making it happen, but he wasn't on the same level as he was back in the 90s. So there's not more to gain with them coming out now. All they had to gain was back in the day. But guess what? It's documented that a lot of women came forward back then and were ignored. So why in the hell y'all still asking that question of why they didn't come forward sooner? They did. They did come forward sooner. And were paid to shut up. Whatever else, they came forward. In so many of these instances, the women are coming forward. They are saying things. The time to hurt R. Kelly was back in the 90s when he was at the top. That's the time to really hurt him. At this point, before all this came about, R. Kelly's pushing 50. R. Kelly could have said deuces, retired, and been set for life. He didn't need to make another song, another album, nothing. He didn't need to do any of that stuff. So what? You gonna come get him as he's on the decline and he's coming? That's when you want to go. That doesn't make sense to do it that way. If you're really trying to get him. Not to mention this. What a lot of people don't realize at the same time is the difference between civil and criminal in regard to the legal system. Civil and criminal. With civil, you're seeking monetary damages. The plaintiff is seeking monetary damages in terms of civil. Criminal means they're looking for them to do some type of time. Women were offered, it was suggested that some women go the civil route. They didn't want that. Let me say that again. They turned down going civil to get money in favor of criminal charges on him. So all this, they're trying to get what? If they're trying to hurt him and put him in prison, I don't see any evidence of that. But if they're trying to get something from him, and that's the thing. It's all this. Well, they're trying to get money. How? If they're seeking criminal charges, how are they trying to get money? Why wouldn't all of them just sue and make it a civil case? They're not doing that. They want criminal charges, and rightfully so. I love to say, why didn't you go for civil? Because you wouldn't believe them. That's why. You would not have believed them, just like you don't believe them now, when there's less on the table. If you're trying to hurt somebody, one more time I'm going to say this. If you're trying to hurt somebody, you're going to do it when they're at the top. You're going to do it when they are riding high, flying high. You're going to do it at those times. That's the time to get them, because that's when the most money is there. You're not going to wait till they start coming down and then say, oh, now I'm going to say something for what? R. Kelly is at fault 100%. But I'm going to tell you who else. And who else is not as opposed to R. Kelly. That's why I said number one. Because he needs to be held accountable for this and for what he did. Nobody's faulting the brother for needing help. I am faulting what has happened as a result of him not seeking help. There's a difference. I've needed help myself. A lot of us do. Which brings me to my second reason. The second group, I should say, responsible. The black community. You're really not going to like this one. Just like I said, he needs help. Right? He has needed help all these years. Black community, I can't tell you how many times, how many members of the black community has said that professional help as far as counseling and mental health and all this is a white person thing. A white person thing. Only white people need professional mental health. Psychological. That's for white folks. I've heard too many damn people say that. We know what our place is in society. We know what our place is. Not because we say that, not because we believe that, but we know what society, for the most part, or for certain, well, I'm not going to say for the most part, for what a great deal of members of society think about us and where our place should be. Let me say it that way. So there's a lot of people who have too much pride. You say you need help, that puts you down even further, right? That drops you down even another notch. So we're not going to say we need help. We're already looked at in a negative way by society, right? So we have to exhibit all this strength and all this about us to show that we're not as weak and we're not as stupid and we're not as everything that society says we are. But the black community, we don't seek help. We don't seek mental health. We don't care about our mental health because we're not supposed to. That's for white people. So even if the brother needed help, who is he going to tell that he's going to get it? Nobody. He has all the resources. And again, don't misunderstand this to mean that he's off the hook. He's not off the hook. But at the same time, the same ones coming forward, the same ones quick to defend him by saying he needs the help, will be telling other black folks, no, that's not what we do. We don't need that help. That's for white people. You're the same ones who would do that. Yeah, society looks at us like garbage, but you know what? We treat each other like garbage too. And I come from a completely 100% black family, and let me tell you, it happens. Sexual assault happens in our families. Mental health is needed in our families. That sexual assault is ignored in our families when family members do it, which has happened many times in my family. And the families of a lot of, and in a lot of other black families out there. It happens. Way too much. And the victims are told, the survivors are told, don't say anything. That's Uncle Joe. That's your father. Hell, in some cases, that's your aunt, this person, and cousin, that person. Keep it quiet. The blame game, oh, that happens too. Big time. We're the first ones to get out here and say, we see someone dressed a certain way. We see a woman dressed a certain way walking down the street, in the store, whatever the case, right? And again, please pardon that noise. I'm out by the street, but I'm enjoying this fresh air and this great weather. But we see a woman dressed a certain way, and what's the first words out of our mouth? I would never let my daughter leave out the house looking like that. Right? Why do we say that? Why is it on those daughters, on our daughter? Why is it their responsibility not to have something happen to them? Why do we say that? I was saying that at one time too, but after a while I got to saying, wait a minute, what am I telling? I've never said to my own daughter personally, but in my thinking I thought, well, what is that saying to her? On SurvivingRKelly, it was also said, something that I've said a lot of times, but one of the psychologists said this as well. We are so constantly, and I'm bringing this up because this is another thing we do within the black community, in our black families. We give our girls all these rules, all the ways to not get sexually assaulted. Well, make sure you dress like this. Make sure you dress like that. Don't go do this. Don't do that. Make sure you're this. Make sure that. And we give them all these rules. And very seldom do we tell them, if something happens, you tell me. If something happens, you tell your mother. If something happens, you report it. If something would, anything to sort of soften that feeling of, if it does happen, it's not on me. It's not my fault. If they're constantly getting all these rules not to break when something does happen, the first place their minds are going to go is that it's their fault. Because after all, they, quote, broke one of the rules. Why is it on them? Why do we keep putting it on the women to act right? Or not putting it on the women to act right, putting it on the women for the men to act right. It's crazy how this society still sees men as superior to women, but we can't damn figure out how not to commit sexual assault and rape somebody. We're that strong, but we can't figure out how not to do that. Right? Right, fellas? We can't. We're stronger in all these ways than women, but man, boy, we need all kinds of help not to go rape somebody. It's embarrassing. R. Kelly didn't get help because, damn, he would have been stigmatized if he did. And again, I say this one more time. It does not take responsibility from him. It does not take it off him. Because he knows he needs the help. He sucks that pride up and he goes and he gets it. Period. But black families, no, we're not trying to hear that. We're not trying to hear the parts that we got to get ourselves right on, the parts that we need to tighten up on. We don't want to hear that stuff. Anybody black comes out and says anything toward a person like R. Kelly, and the classic responses come, oh, sell out, you're an Uncle Tom, you're a house nigga, and all the other foolishness. That doesn't mean anything to me. Heard it all, been there, done that, still here. We see someone in a successful position like R. Kelly, and we're so afraid to say something about it. When are we going to realize that's more harmful to our community than anything else? We get out here and we do all this squawking, all this yin-yang about white people respecting us, and look at how the hell we treat each other. Somebody's effing up, and we don't grab them and say, hey, cut it out. Hey, stop. Stop. That's what we need. We need people stepping up and saying, hey, let's not do this. This ain't right. That's the part, that's what we need. Why do we think that success is all about being quiet, letting them be successful without saying anything? Open your mouths. All of you who enabled R. Kelly, you're just as damn wrong as he is, because you knew what the hell he was doing. But we see somebody, there's an expression. I hear it a lot in the sports world, but I'm pretty sure it's said everywhere. Act like you've been there. And when it comes to success, especially in the black community, we still act like we haven't been there. And way too many. Granted, there's not more successful blacks out there than whites, but there's far too many of us to act like we haven't damn been there. We want success so badly that we're okay with a singer molesting and sexually assaulting young girls way underage, and kidnapping, doing all this crazy stuff. We want him to be successful that badly. We want our community to look like something that much to where we're okay with that going on. Not somebody, the minute they see him look at someone the wrong way, they grab him and say, hey, Robert, no. Don't do it. Don't do it. You need the help. That's the time you get the help. Not look the other way, because everybody knows what happened now. Where was all that before? Our community's at fault. We look the other way because we want to see him continue to succeed. We don't want him held accountable for his actions. And that's the problem. We're afraid to say something. We want success so badly that we'll let it slide. Pretend we don't know. And even with all the evidence out there, we think sitting our behinds on social media and continuing to repeat how much we love him, how much you love him, how great he is, and he's the king of all this BS. Like that's going to sit and protect anything. I can't even argue sometimes because other black people prove me wrong and prove them right. The ones saying everything they are about us, we're proving them right with this stuff. This is not about judging somebody for doing something wrong. This is about saying we got to stop letting it slide. We got to stop saying, okay, we don't see it going. We don't see it happening. Our community is at fault. Number 3, and I'll wrap up on this. Parents. Again, do not misunderstand this to mean that only the parents are at fault, or even that they are primarily at fault. R. Kelly is 100% responsible for all of what R. Kelly did. The black community didn't make him do it. They enabled him. These parents didn't make him do these things, but they did enable him. Something else that happens in our communities, as much as we try to deny it, is that when an opportunity for success comes, we will whore out whatever members of our family we need to in order to achieve that success. Now, if he was found innocent of the charges and so forth back in the day, I got it, understand. But I'm telling you right now, if my daughter's not going to be associated with anybody, any celebrity, in which that's something that's come up, especially with the evidence present. I don't like any celebrity that much. A lot of them are cool, but I don't like any of them that much. If they're being investigated and looked at, and even if they were found innocent, I want to know why it came up to begin with. And the thing is, it's not like this was an accusation and he was just exonerated altogether. There was damning evidence against him. That's going to make me think twice. That's going to make me be a little more present in what's going on. Not here you go, I'm going to drop you off and then I'm going to go my ass to hell wherever else. We do that. And one thing I've always felt very odd about this whole thing is that R. Kelly was in his 30s and 40s. And I found it strange that all these 14 and 15-year-old women like him without the parents having some kind of say. We know how, as far as 30s and 40-year-olds are, we know how kids feel about them. We're ancient. We are dinosaurs. So you're telling me all these teenage girls knew R. Kelly and liked him like that? Not somebody their own age? The parents didn't have any influence on, well, hey, why don't you? None? And I can tell you what I truly believe was part of this as well. Yeah, he was found, charges weren't brought up against him. Back in the day I'm talking about, not talking about right now. It's not that big of a thing because once they are successful, once my child is successful, then we don't have to worry about this. He's not our problem anymore. I'm sure that was in play as well. No amount of anybody doing anything lets Robert off the hook. Nothing. But in some of these cases, the parents just drop the girls off like as though they were dropping them off at daycare. And that's crazy. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure there's more to what went on, or the parents knew more than they know more than what they're telling. You're telling me there was never at no time did any parent find something odd about anything that happened? There's no way R. Kelly had it going on like that to where no parent saw something that was just like, no one. It seems that no one questioned anything. And again, in our communities, that's what we do too. I don't care what white people do it. I'm talking about us. We want success so badly, or we want to be associated with that celebrity, that famous person, especially if they're black, so badly that we'll tolerate whatever it is, or we'll say, hey, it's not going to happen to us. Or even if some of them knew 100%, they're told, deal with it. Make him happy. Do what you got to do. There's something else going around in our community. Do what you got to do. By any means necessary. I'm not going to say every parent did that. And truly nobody can say for sure. I'm telling you what my theories are. But I told you also in the order. And to recap real quick, number 1, R. Kelly. Number 2, the black community. Number 3, parents. Let's stop being so hard up to get success that we're sending our children to be traumatized for life. Lifetime must have hired the best actors in the freaking universe, because if all of these women are lying, boy, they got me fooled big time. And the thing is, they're not lying in the same way. I mean, they're not talking the same way. They're speaking. All of them, their personalities feel different. The ones who are defending R. Kelly, I can tell you now, they sound more locked up with each other than anything else. And shoot, there's one in particular. I don't know if they're twins. I think they're twins, 2 white women who were defending R. Kelly. And what I found, and this one came on, I think this was episode 3. We're behind on it, so we might be on 3. I don't know where they are. I think 3 was the last one they showed. But anyway, forgot their names. But one of them sounded like a robot, literally like a robot. She sounded robotic in how she was defending him. Like somebody was standing behind her with a gun to her back. And she was talking, and I don't know, and all this. It sounded like she was a robot. And I'm not making fun of any physical, anything that she had. I'm just saying the way she sounded was like somebody was there, like she was making sure not to say too much. But it was nothing more than the same bogus excuses that other people are running around with. They never saw anything. Nothing was ever out of place. Just nothing. It's like, how do you see that nothing is out of place, but all these women are coming along and they're telling stories and able to put themselves in these locations, and these stories have been proven. People who used to work with R. Kelly, why are they all of a sudden turning the corner? Why are they all of a sudden saying, oh, well, you know what? Something didn't look right, or this happened and that happened. Why are they all of a sudden saying that now? He is right where he needs to be. And he needs to stay there. You got a problem with me, you go ahead and bring whatever you got. But whatever you do, you make sure you finish the job. And that's what I'm going to tell you. You take that however you want. Because if all these women are lying and R. Kelly didn't do this stuff, why in the world is he having people come after them? Out there who decided to harass these women. Women are walking around in shopping malls and all this with their babies, and you're threatening them and so on because your precious little celebrity has to be held accountable for what he did. You should be damn ashamed of yourselves. No wonder white people call us animals when that type of stuff happens. So because somebody said something about your favorite celebrity, that gives you the right to go outside and physically harass them? No, the hell it doesn't. At all. People are having to move. Lives are threatened. Over what? If your boy is innocent, right? Y'all should just sit back and chill. If you got to go after somebody, that means you want to make sure that something doesn't get found out. That's what it's about. You're trying to protect. You want to protect him. Because if these women are lying, guess what? Let them lie. Right? Let them lie. Let them go ahead and get themselves caught up. Don't try to shut them up. Very quick, the last thing. Someone might say, well, if someone was lying on you, Robert, what would you say? Talking about me. How would you feel if someone was lying? I'm not going to go after them. How does that look physically going after someone who's lying on you? Even if they're telling the worst lies about you, how does that make you look going after them like that? We have to get it together. And my apologies for making this as long as it did, but this is something that really, really gets me near and dear to me. People are defending him with no sense of... some of you sound just as bad as Trump supporters. Seriously. You're defending with no real sense of defense. It's more of a, I'm going to defend you no matter what type of attitude. All hail the king. Somebody really said that garbage. Hail the damn king. R. Kelly ain't been the damn king and I don't know how long. He called himself the king at one time. I'm like, I've never seen him as no king. Crazy. I think y'all get it. Anyway, thanks for listening. Again, this is Robert People of RobertPeople.com. Have a great Thursday. Have a good rest of your weekend. And I will see you back here on